All right, let's talk about supply and demand. Supply and demand is one of those things that everybody thinks they already know. They already think they're experts. But I've found over the years that very few people actually have a handle, actually have a grasp on it. And actually, supply and demand can be one of those concepts that takes a while to fully grasp and fully understand. Here's a couple of examples. Sometimes you'll see a headline in an article, or journalists will say, in the iPhone 8, the demand outstrips supply. Well, that's not right. There's no way to show demand outstripping supply. That's actually, I know what the author is trying to say, but technically that's not correct. Here's another example. You'll see something like, or if I asked you, hey, if the price of orange juice goes up, what happens to the demand for orange juice? You might say, well, if the price goes up, then the demand goes down. Wrong. That's not the way it works at all. So, buckle up, strap in, and let's talk a little bit about supply and demand. Let's start with demand, since that's kind of what I already have on the board. And we'll start with the definition of demand, okay? So, the definition of demand. So, for the rest of your life, right, I want you to know that this is the definition of demand. Demand is the willingness and ability of who? Recall, what does it take to have a market, right? It takes a buyer and a seller, right? And they have to agree upon price and quantity. Notice I didn't say they agree upon supply and demand. That's not the way a market works. Buyers and sellers don't agree upon supply and demand. Buyers and sellers agree upon price and quantity. So which one are we talking about here? Demand is the willingness and ability of buyers to what? To purchase goods and services. And just so we're clear on the definition, let's talk about what willingness and ability mean. Willingness basically means want, right? In order for demand to exist, buyers have to want to purchase it. So you can probably come up with plenty of examples of things that people want in terms of, shoes and cars and other types of products and amenities. But you could also probably come up with things that, people don't want, right? Like, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that wants to buy, I can't even think of something like that. Well, I can think of something. Actually, I worked in advertising years ago, and we product tested mint-flavored beer. And I can tell you, there wasn't anybody on the face of the planet that wanted to buy mint-flavored beer. So there was no willingness, which meant there was zero demand, and it never came to market. Ability usually means money, right? So as a buyer, I may have the willingness to buy a Ferrari, but I may not have the ability. I may not have the $350,000 it takes to buy a Ferrari, and so hence there's no demand, or there's no, in my case, there's not opportunity to act as a buyer to purchase one because I don't have the ability. So you must have both the willingness and the ability to purchase goods and services. Now, if I take a simplified demand schedule and recall, right, what is it that defines a market? Buyers and sellers have to agree upon what? Price and quantity. So let's just look at a simple price of something like that. All right, and we'll say we're talking about cookies here. So if the price of a cookie is $8, what do you think the quantity demanded will be for that cookie? High or low? Well, at $8, my guess is it's going to be relatively low, right? So you might find, a few people that will buy a cookie at $8, but not many. But as the price decreases, what happens? Well, more people make that cost-benefit analysis, right, determination, and say, oh, well, I'll tell you what, as long as the benefit exceeds the cost, then people will participate, right, and they have the willingness and ability. So, again, price falls a little bit more, and the quantity demanded increases until the price is, say, $2 and the quantity is $8. Now, the law of demand shows the relationship between price, and quantity. And just so we're explicit here, or I'm explicit, we're talking about the quantity demanded, right? Because we're talking about demand right now. And so what does this show? As this price decreases from $8 to $2, what happens to the quantity demanded? It increases. So in fact, that's what the law of demand says. The law of demand says all things being equal, ceteris paribus, as the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases, or vice versa, as the price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. So back to that example I just said a few minutes ago. As the price of orange juice increases, what happens? It's not demand that decreases, it's the quantity demanded that decreases. And that's a subtle point, but it's important, okay? If I graph this, and I show this pictorially, or not pictorially, but graphically, price is always there, quantity is always there, that's always zero. So let's go ahead and graph this. So at a price of $8, we'll do a quantity of 2, 4, 6, 8. Price of 2, and then 6 and 4. We can see that in fact the demand curve is downward sloping, right? And the law of demand says and predicts that the relationship between price and quantity is negative or inverse, and an inverse curve results in a downward sloping curve. And that's exactly what we see right here, all right? So again, demand, right? Demand is predicated by buyers, and we've talked about the definition, and this is the hardest thing ever, right? As price changes, what changes? It's quantity demanded that changes, not demand. Right now, think of demand simply as like how much you like pizza, okay? So watch what happens. When the price, let's say the price of pizza is $2 a slice. So when the price of pizza is $2 a slice, the quantity demanded is $8, okay? Now, when the price changes, when the price increases to say $6, what happened to demand? Nothing. The demand curve didn't shift, didn't move, right? What happened was the quantity demanded decreased to 4, but the demand curve, the actual demand curve, didn't change. So demand didn't change when the price increased. And again, can be a very difficult sort of concept to get, and all it takes is practice and reiteration and going over and over again. But there it is. There's demand.